Hey everyone, I really don't post on Reddit, but the situation that I'm in, I feel like I do need an outside perspective. And this is my first time posting here, so please pardon any mistakes or typos that I make. Here's the situation. So my grandmother, I call her Nana, has decided to cut me out of her will simply because I decided to side with my mother and move in with her because my parents are getting divorced. All of this has happened over the course of the past few weeks, and I'm still reeling from the shock of it because my parents have been together for years. They've been married for a very long time, and I never expected this to happen. But I guess it had to happen at some point because apparently my father has been cheating on my mom and having an affair with his ex from college. And he got caught in the act by my mother a couple of weeks ago because she had already been feeling quite suspicious of him. So she decided to follow him around for a day, and that's how she found out. Obviously, my dad tried to explain himself, but it all boiled down to this. He was bored. And apparently, this is not even the first time he confessed that he had been on dating apps in the past, but he just managed not to get caught. He claimed that it was all just casual and physical in the past, but this time he ended up getting emotionally attached because this was a woman that he actually knew and got along with. Not just random hookups from dating apps. Basically, when my mother confronted him, he couldn't hold back anymore, and he ended up telling her about everything. Every little affair that he had had over the past couple of years, and even if my mother had considered staying with him and giving the marriage another try after learning all of that. She couldn't do it anymore. And the fact that all of this was happening simply because he was bored was something that she couldn't accept because I know my mother and I know for a fact that she has always been a devoted wife and mother and has tried her best to support my father in everything that he did. To do all of that and then get left behind because he was bored, I totally understood why she wanted to leave him, and honestly, I'm shocked that my brother chose to stay with my dad when my mother decided to move out and I decided to leave with her. My father has tried to get in touch with me repeatedly, but I'm ignoring him since I don't want to talk to him right now, and naturally that has created some trouble with my Nana because right now she's thinking of cutting me out of her will and leaving everything to my dad and brothers simply because I chose to take my mom's side in all of this. Because my dad literally cheated and it was going to be a punishment for me or whatever, and I don't understand what was going through her mind. It's ungrateful because I was the one who stayed by her side and took care of her 2 years ago. When she was almost on her deathbed, she had fallen from the stairs and broken her hip. And then she had sepsis and she was basically bedridden for months. I was taking a gap year before college started, so I decided I was going to be the one to be by her side because obviously my dad had too much work on his plate. And he couldn't just abandon everything so he could only visit a few days in the week and only after work. My mom and brother would visit on the weekends because they had school, so that left me. I could have done whatever I wanted with my time because after all, it was my gap year. But I chose to be there by her side. I would read to her, I would chat with her. I would basically keep her entertained and prevent her from falling into some sort of depression because she had struggled with that in the past, especially after my grandpa had passed away. She did have a nurse, but I also helped her out occasionally, and I feel like there should be some sort of gratitude towards me for that. I've never demanded it. I don't think that she should be thanking me all the time, but the fact that it was so easy for her to cut me out of the will, and not just that, she even notified me about it through an email, telling me that she was very disappointed in my behavior. And she could never have imagined that I would abandon my father like this, and given the circumstances, she thought that it would be best for my brother to receive whatever she had kept aside for me, so he could do whatever he deemed fit with it, since I did not deserve anything because I was not loyal to my family. I mean, it's rich of her to talk about loyalty towards the family, when all of this is happening simply because her own son could not remain loyal to his family. He was the one who cheated, and I did not want my mother to be dealing with all of this alone, because even though I know that she's strong and a capable woman, I don't want her going through it all by herself. So I decided to move out of my house, and if anything, I'm showing how loyal I am to my family because I gave up my room. I gave up my comfortable life with my dad, and I decided to leave with my mom simply because I didn't want her to be alone. Whereas my brother, spineless as he is, chose to stick with my dad, and they're acting all buddy-buddy simply because he is too heavily reliant on my dad for the money, and he's ready to give up anything for money, be it his morals and ethics or whatever. And I know for a fact that my brother does not have any strong sense of principles or morals, because he's a thief. Over the past few years, he has stolen a lot of things from our own house, from our grandma's house, and God knows how many other people, and then sold it online on eBay. He has a gambling problem. He got into it when he was 18, and he keeps telling everybody that he's going to quit, but so far it hasn't happened. And my dad told him very early, the first time that he got into trouble, that he was not going to help him get out of this gambling debt. So he could forget about it if that's what he was counting on. First time, my mom and I were the people who bailed him out because my dad had made it very clear that he was not getting involved. And this was his mistake. So he had to deal with it on his own. And for a couple of times after that, he would either come to me or my mom until we put our foot down as well. So just imagine, even after all of that, he still chose to side with our father instead of my mom. Anyway, in the past few years, he has gotten into a lot of trouble because he developed the habit of stealing whatever expensive things he could lay his hands on around the house and then selling them to cover his debts. My dad even threatened to call the cops on him a couple of times. He threatened to kick him out as well, and my brother would beg for forgiveness, but eventually go back to his old ways because both of them knew that they were too scared to lose their reputation to actually do anything about him. He would even steal from our grandma's place whatever he thought was of value, including a couple of paintings, a few items of jewelry, and a few very expensive decorative pieces as well. My grandmother would notice that they were missing, but we didn't want to upset her because my brother was always a favorite with her. So we wouldn't tell her the truth because it would break her heart. And we didn't want her to go through that because she would always forget eventually. So we could just tell her that it was in the attic, and then she was mostly satisfied with that information. So she would forget about it, but in reality, all those items would be stolen and then sold on eBay. And my brother would keep the money. And it's not like we didn't try to stop it. We did. We even told him that we were going to tell our grandmother, and then whatever financial help he was getting from her occasionally, even that would stop. But he didn't care. He just kept doing whatever he wanted with almost no consequences. And well, I thought that it was about time he faced some consequences. So after my grandmother sent me that email, I decided it was time to tell her the truth. I had a bunch of old photos and a few screenshots of my conversations with my brother regarding whatever I had spoken about earlier, and I attached all in an email and explained the whole thing. I told her that her fave grandson had been stealing from her all along, and all of those things that she had lost, well, they were never in her attic. That was just a lie that her son had decided to tell her to cover up for my brother, and we had to go along with it because we didn't want to break her heart. But now, since she had made it so clear that she couldn't care less about me, I thought I should at least be honest with her one last time, because clearly family loyalty is everything, and I want to be loyal to her and tell her the truth, and that was that. And after I sent her that, my dad and my brother have been blowing up my phone, asking me for an explanation, telling me that I have ruined their lives. And not that, but apparently, according to them, I'm the most selfish person on earth, and I don't even deserve to be a part of the family anymore, because my grandmother is obviously furious, and Nana has decided she's going to cut all of them out of the will. And she's going to leave everything to charity now, and she's threatening them right now, even though she hasn't done it yet. And I highly doubt she will. But they're already blaming me for it. So I'm guessing that she did check the attic and she realized I was telling the truth. And that she had been made a fool of. This is a huge problem because the inheritance is worth quite a lot. And obviously, my dad and brother wouldn't want to lose it. Besides, she's even talking a lot about selling her shares in the company, so they will be losing out money from that aspect as well, and basically none of this is going well for them. They have said that I behaved in a very petty manner, and that I need to do something to fix it. But here's the thing. I don't really feel like anything. I feel like they deserve all of this. They're all greedy and horrible, and I feel like I did the right thing. It hurt my grandma, that's for sure, but she hurt me as well. So why should I feel bad about that? So tell me, AITA? For exposing my dad and brother to my grandma? And making sure that they lost an inheritance like I lost mine? Edit. Okay, so there has been some confusion about certain things in my post, and don't worry, I'm going to clarify it all for you guys. Right now, I'm 26 years old, my brother's 24 years old, and yes, I know we should be living separately already, but we do live with our parents and have been for the past couple of years. You see, we have a pretty big house, so we didn't see the point of moving out and renting an apartment and living separately. Privacy has never been a problem with us. My brother and I have separate sections in the house, and we are fine with the arrangement. We always have been. However, right now, I'm living separately with my mom in a rented apartment, but she's going to fight for the house in the divorce. My dad took over my grandpa's company a few years before my brother was born, and it's a pretty successful company. So that's how we're able to afford all of this. Now I hope to inherit the company someday, although right now it's anybody's guess as to what will really happen. That's why I got a business degree, and since then I've been working with my dad. But right now, of course, we are on a break. I know we shouldn't let our personal and professional lives mix, but right now I just can't help it. As for my brother, he does nothing. And I actually mean it. He literally does nothing. He just sits at home all day, gambles online, pretends he's just playing video games, gets in fights with the rest of the family, and eventually makes it up because he knows he doesn't have anywhere else to go. My parents would have done something about it, but they are way too concerned about keeping up appearances. It was more important to keep a secret than to acknowledge that there is a problem with him and do something to fix it. So that's how things turned out this way, and I'm not saying that my mom doesn't regret it. But I think right now she has bigger problems to deal with, so she just doesn't talk about any of it. As for my father, he was the only one who would get in the biggest fights with my brother, but right now, simply because my mom and I are one team, they have decided that they have to be on one team and make everything work. It's an unlikely duo, that's for sure, but they are both selfish and spineless, so as long as they can make it work, they will stick together for sure, because to them, nothing is more important than their own well-being, even if it means that everybody else is definitely going to suffer for it. Update 1. Hey, it's been a week and a half since my previous update, and I've been very busy, to be very honest, because I went back to work since, in spite of everything that's going on with my dad, I'm not going to abandon what I have worked hard for. I've been working under my father ever since I graduated, and I know for a fact this company is going to come to me, because it's either that or he's going to have to choose somebody from outside the family, and I don't think my dad will do that because, well, this is supposed to be our family's legacy, at least a part of it. And if he has to choose from within the family, the only option he has is my brother. And that's as good as giving the company away to a thief, because he's not going to do anything well. He's probably going to ruin it. So anyway, I went back to work, and in spite of our differences in our personal life, he's been professional, he's been cordial, and I really appreciate that. We even had a talk about it. He told me that regardless of what's going on at home, we couldn't take it out on each other at work. And we had to keep on a professional front because at the end of the day, this is a business and I still have hopes of inheriting the company someday. I'm going to have to give him the respect he deserves as the boss, and he's going to have to behave likewise and keep grooming me. So that was agreed upon, and even though it's been a bit awkward, we have managed quite well. It's confusing, I'm not going to lie, because sometimes I feel like this is my father. This is a man I've known all my life and have always loved and respected, so how could he hurt us like this? At other times I feel like I barely even know him anymore, so it's a huge mess. But I'm learning how to navigate it properly. As for my mother, she's currently going through mediation sessions with a lawyer, and my dad and his lawyer. It's a good thing that even though she had the option of living comfortably as a stay-at-home mom, she chose to work because she wanted her own money, because it's really coming in handy now. I don't know exactly how things are going. Some days she's pleased, and on other days, she just clams up and spends hours in bed. I keep trying to talk to her. I keep trying to make everything better, but sometimes I have to know when to stop and give her her own space. So far, she's been quite reluctant to talk about the divorce proceedings, but I do get some bits and pieces of information out of her sometimes. Most of the time, she's just depressed, so I'm trying to get her to look into therapy or something because I honestly don't want to see her like this. It hurts me so much to even think about what she's going through because underneath it all, I know that she really loves my dad. And contrary to the evidence, I feel like he loved her too. But I don't know what went wrong with him. It's such a basic thing to stay loyal to somebody. I don't understand why he couldn't just do that and why he had to go out of his way and ruin our family like this. I guess there are certain things that I'll just never understand, and this happens to be one of them. As for my grandmother, Nana's still not speaking to anybody in the family. I know because my brother sent me an email a couple of days ago claiming it's all my fault because they had tried to go and visit her and speak to her in person to sort everything out, and she had refused to even open the door. She has a housekeeper for all of this, and her housekeeper told them very clearly that she had been issued strict instructions from Nana, that if she let anybody in from our family, she would be fired, and she was not about to risk her job for any of this. And that's a first, because even in the past, if any of us have had any issues with Nana, or any arguments that we wanted to sort out with her, she would always let us in, but this time I guess she's really upset. And of course, my brother was blaming me for all of it. He said it was all my fault and I had ruined his life, and he was claiming he was going deeper and deeper into debt and he probably wanted some sort of help from me by making me feel guilty. But I was not about to fall for that. He's living with her dad right now. He has chosen which parent he wants to side with, so he can just ask our dad for help, right? Why is he bothering me with all of this? His gambling addiction is not my problem. I had tried to help him to the best of my ability, but it's clear he doesn't want to be helped. He just wants us to keep covering for him and bailing him out. But he doesn't actually want to be helped out of this whole mess that he's in. So let him suffer. I don't really care about that anymore. Like I said, I have bigger problems to deal with. So does my mother. He cannot be our biggest problem and priority anymore. He's not a complete and total child. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he's ruining his life. And if he doesn't think that he should change his ways, then that's on him, not us. I'm not going to help him out anymore. And I'm not going to respond to him. I'm done. Update 2. Okay, so it's been a month since my previous update, and today my brother decided to pay my mother and I a visit. It came as quite a surprise because we didn't even know he would be able to figure out where we were staying. But he said he had spoken to our paternal grandparents, my mom's parents, and after a lot of begging and requesting, they had finally let him know where we were staying. When he showed up initially, I had been quite hesitant to let him in, but then he started crying, so I had to invite him inside because I didn't want him attracting a lot of attention from the neighbors. But even once he was inside, he didn't stop crying. It was like a dam finally breaking, and he just kept crying and apologizing and crying. And once he finally seemed to calm down a bit, my mother and I asked him, quite concerned, what was actually going on, because this was quite unlike him. He's not one for crying. In fact, even when he's been through his most difficult times, he would beg, he would fight with us, he would bargain, but he wouldn't cry. To be very honest, I didn't even think he could cry, but evidently that's not the case. Anyway, once he had calmed down enough to be coherent and speak properly, he told us he had been kicked out by our father because apparently he had been knee-deep in debt, and not having anybody else to go to, he had decided to ask his father for help. And as usual, our father had refused, making it very clear that he's going to stick to whatever he had said in the beginning. And just because my brother had chosen to stay with him during the divorce didn't mean anything to him. He knew that he was staying back only because he didn't have anywhere to go. So in reality, it was more for his own benefit than for anything else. And my dad was not going to be thankful for that and bail him out, because he had made it clear from the beginning itself that any more trouble with gambling, he's going to have to deal with it on his own, because he's not spending his hard-earned money on someone who's just bent on ruining his own life. They got into a bit of a fight, and in the end, my dad decided to kick him out, saying that he had had enough and he couldn't just stay home and be a freeloader and then have the audacity to pick fights with his own father, who had been supporting him all along. And now he wanted even more. And while he was explaining all of this, I couldn't hold on to my temper anymore. And I told him that for once in a long time, I actually agreed with my dad wholeheartedly here. That came as a bit of a shock to my brother. I don't understand why, because he must have known that there's a lot of truth in whatever my dad had said. But nevertheless, I explained to him exactly why I thought my father was right, and I told him that even at his age, he had not bothered to get a college degree, let alone a job. He didn't know what he was doing with his life. He was gambling away whatever money he received from our father to support himself instead of doing something productive with it. And on top of that, he didn't even help out at home. He would not do any chores, even though we had help for it. He couldn't even be bothered to clean his own room. It was always a mess. And he was the laziest person I've ever seen. It's like he has absolutely zero ambition or goals in his life. And he's bent on making it everybody else's problem. I told him that he cannot expect everybody to go on cleaning his messes while he refuses to change his own behavior and acknowledge the fact that he is the problem himself. He's not a victim of anything at all. Then he started crying again, saying that it was ridiculous that he had come here for some emotional support and maybe some help, and here I was judging him, making him feel even worse than he was already feeling. He kept looking at my mom, expecting her to interfere, but she said nothing. She just sat there silently. I guess the fact that he had chosen our dad in the divorce and chosen to stay back home instead of supporting her is something that she wouldn't be able to forget anytime soon. And yes, at the end of the day, he's my brother and he's her son, and we do love him in our own way, but loving somebody doesn't mean that we have to put up with all their BS. We have to let them get away with whatever they do and pretend as if we're fine with it, or just because we are not. So I told him if he had come here for help, he was not going to find it here. Because we were done. We were not going to help him anymore. If he wanted advice on how to clean up his act and become a better person, then maybe we would be willing to talk. But if he just wanted money to pay off his debts, he needed to look elsewhere, because he was not getting anything here. And he got angry, cussed me out, called me a bunch of names, and then left and slammed the door shut so hard that we literally felt like the house was shaking. And as much as I wanted to go after him and give him a piece of my mind, I didn't. Because it was not worth it. I'm done babysitting him. I'm not going to bother myself anymore with this nonsense. Update 3. Hi everyone, it's been 1.5 years since my previous update, and a couple of weeks ago, my mom's divorce finally came through. It was a really long process. Things went to court. It was rough for the entire family. And I'm so glad it's finally over. She got exactly what she had asked for in her petition in the end. It was not a good judgment, but my father just decided to give up and settle outside of court because it was getting too dragged out, and he couldn't do this anymore. Him and I are still working together. We have maintained a professional front at work, but apart from that, we don't speak much. It's sad. I wish things would be normal with my dad, but it's what it is, and I'm trying to deal with that. I don't speak much with the rest of my family either. I've had zero contact with my Nana, and all I know for sure is that she's still alive. That's it. As for my brother, after my dad kicked him out, he stayed with his friends for a couple of weeks and kept begging me to help him out, but I refused. And I think after that, he went back to staying with our father, and he's probably getting help of some sort. I'm not sure. I haven't even asked. I could ask my dad and find out, but honestly, I don't think I care anymore. I'm done with all of this. I'm done trying to look out for my family. All that matters to me now is my mom, and I'm glad that she's doing well. She's getting back into the spirit of things. She's not that depressed anymore, and I'm happy for her. She deserves the world. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.